So welcome to KSG PT marathon session. So today I am going to take your economy, that is Indian economy for your prelims. And before I start, I want to wish you everyone National Civil Service Day. So happy Civil Service Day to all of you. So we'll begin our class on this special day. Okay, and hope you get benefit from today's class. Now, before we start our marathon, so you must know that Indian economy, okay, as well as I am going to cover, you can say, government schemes, okay, government schemes, particularly with respect to your economy topics. Now, if you see, every year from these two portions, there are around minimum, I am telling you, that is 20 questions. So everywhere you will find some 4-5 good questions from your government schemes and some 14-15 questions from Indian economy. So every year you will find the questions from this area. Okay. So it means the weightage of this subject is very high. So your cutoff, you know that in your exam is around 80, 89, 90, 100 marks. Okay, so 90 to 100 marks. So around 20 questions from this area. So if you correct it, so you will get 40 marks in this. So you cannot take this, you can say, subject lightly. Okay. Now what we are going to cover today, you must know that number one, we are going to cover growth topic, where we talk about GDP, GNP, all those things. Okay, or you can say national income accounting. That topic is also known by this name. Number two, so please make the list. Okay, so I don't want that you just listen it. So whatever I am making you write or telling you, so I want that you must make a freehand notes of that also. Okay, so you must make a freehand notes of that also. Okay, number two, we are going to cover inflation. Number three, we are going to cover monetary policy. Number four, we are going to cover fiscal policy. Okay, because structure must be in your mind that what we are going to cover. Okay, next we are going to cover banking. Next we are going to cover capital market and money market. Next we are going to cover agriculture. Okay, next we are going to cover industries and services. Industries and services. Next we are going to cover, so see, there is a long list. Okay, we are going to cover infrastructure. Next we are going to cover taxation. Next, balance of payment. Next, international organizations. So in international organizations, my focus will be on basically important organizations like IMF, World Trade Organization, etc., World Bank. Next, we are going to cover poverty and unemployment. Okay, poverty and unemployment. So this is a complete list, and last we'll see the topic of planning also. Okay, so you can say Niti Aayog, we'll talk about that. Okay, so these are the broad topics that we have to cover today. Okay, and before I start these topics, so I just want to tell that if you listen it carefully, and you can say, when I am saying carefully, that with full concentration, and whatever I am making you write, okay, just a minute, some students are writing video सही नहीं आ रहा, clear नहीं है. Okay, तो एक बारी check कर लो, blur आ रहा है. Okay. See, some are writing that video is not clear or blur. So I just request the technical team. So it may be get resolved within few minutes. Okay. So we'll continue our lecture. No doubt your video is not clear. You are listening me. Okay. So that is more than, that is sufficient only. Okay. So ultimately this is the list of topics that we have to cover. Now if you see the previous year questions, frequently they have asked a question from this area. Okay, so ultimately, as I told you, they have asked so many questions. Every year you get around 22 or more than 20 questions from economy. Clear? Economy plus government schemes. I am telling you this. Okay. Now when we talk about industry, so first of all I want to open this topic with some important schemes, and then we'll see what is more relevant for your exam. So if you see, what is more important is Startup India. That is very much important in your industry topic. Okay. Second, if you see, okay. Second, if you see, apart from Startup India, what is important is Make in India. Third, Production Link Incentive Scheme. Okay. Although these schemes are important for both prelims and mains, but here our focus will be only on prelims. Okay. So that is why it is a PT marathon. Okay. So these are important. Apart from that, there is Stand Up India also. Okay, so there is Stand Up India also. So if you see previous year question, in your mains they used to ask issues or analysis of these schemes. Okay, so today we are not going to see the analysis part. We are only going to focus on prelims part, where your question can be asked from industry. Okay, where a question can be asked from industry. Okay, so ultimately if you see, at least I will not say that like in agriculture, I say with surety that 3-4 questions they used to ask every year. Okay, so if you know the areas where they are asking, so I told you that finance is one thing where they used to ask in agriculture. Okay, number one. Number two, as I told you, they used to ask question with respect to fertilizer and seeds. So they are there, you can say, important areas these days. Earlier they used to ask question on like irrigation also, but now the relevancy of irrigation topic in your agriculture has reduced. Okay, so they have asked question on this. Because why I am telling you, because UPSC also has to frame a new question, then only they can make a difficult exam for you. So with respect to irrigation, if I talk, they have already covered a question like interlinking of rivers. So interlinking of rivers they have already covered. Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana, they have already covered. So already chances of asking question from that area are very less. Okay, so whatever difficult level question that can be framed, they have already framed. So ultimately these are new areas which our government is also focusing, or you can say unexplored area with respect to your UPSC exam. That is why I focused on that. Clear? Now moving further, when it comes to industry, so you know that PLI is a new one. They have not asked question. Startup and Stand Up India, they have asked a question. But ultimately when it comes to Startup India, okay, Startup India. So first of all you must know the definition of startup. Okay, the definition of startup. So first of all, if you see, there are three things if you want to recognize as a startup. Number one, 10 years. Number two, or you can say formula, you can remember it like this: 10 years, 100 crores, and innovation. Okay, innovation. So अब इनका मतलब क्या है? 10 years means if suppose I have initiated, or you can say started one company, okay, it must be not more than or not older than 10 years. So the day I registered it and till date, it has not crossed 10 years. Okay, this is the first criteria. Second, my turnover must not be more than 100 crores, annual turnover. So I am not talking about profit. So there are two things, turnover and profit. Turnover means that whatever product I have sold in a year, that must not be more than 100 crores. So मैंने एक साल के अंदर 100 करोड़ से ज्यादा के प्रोडक्ट नहीं बेचे. तो अगर सपोज कर लो आई एम मेकिंग दिस पेंसिल, okay, so my number of pencils that I have sold in a year, that must not be more than 100 crore, or its valuation must not be more than 100 crore. Profit is different, turnover is different. Clear? Number three, innovation. Innovation means that if I have set up a company, okay, innovation means if I have set up a company, okay, or startup, that must bring a positive change in the life of a people. So for example, Swiggy, Zomato, they bring a change in your life, or you can say they have a positive impact on your life. Like earlier you have to go outside to purchase food from the restaurant. Now on click, food is at your home. So this is innovation. Similarly, cab, Ola, Uber. So if I want to go someplace, so I have to go outside and wait for the auto rickshaw and cab wala. But now only on a click, I get a cab on my doorstep. Okay. So this is called innovation. So ultimately why I want to say, because sometimes people say that ki my company is, you can say, not more than 10 years old. Number one, your turnover is also not 100 crore, but whatever activity you are doing, that is nothing else, or that is nothing new. So ultimately you cannot say that you are a startup. तो अगर आपको startup बोलना है, okay, तो मैं इसको ऐसे भी समझा सकता हूं आपको कि अगर suppose you open one restaurant and your turnover is less than 100 crore, okay, and you are not more, or you can say old than 10 years. So you started restaurant just 2 years back. So ultimately you will not say that ki my restaurant is a startup. Why? Because whatever you are doing, that are done by others also. That are done by others also. हाँ कुछ ऐसा कर दो कि 1 मिनट में खाना रेडी. Okay, that is what startup. So that is what immediate food without compromising on quality. Okay, so this is what startup. Clear? Example, आज अगर सपोज कर लो कि कोई पर्सन ऑनलाइन कोचिंग खोलता है और वो बोले कि दिस इज अ स्टार्टअप. नो, बिकॉज दिस इज व्हाट आई एम डूइंग, अदर्स आल्सो डू. Okay, now suppose I came with one innovative idea, like right now you can see me but I cannot see you. Okay, but if suppose I come with such idea that I can see you also, as well as if you are sleeping I can, you can say, disturb you, or I can give you a pinch ki bhai so kyun rahe ho. That is what innovative idea. That is what innovative idea means. Being an online, you are taking a feeling of physical class. Okay, that is what innovative. Then I am recognized as startup. So first of all, you must understand the meaning of startup. So ultimately, to recognize as a startup, you must be not older than 10 years. Your turnover must be less than 100 crores. And your idea must be innovative, that has positive impact in an economy. Negative नहीं होना चाहिए. Positive impact in an economy. So I hope you get the idea. तो अगर इनमें से anything is missing, you will not be recognized as a startup. Okay, you will not be recognized as a startup. अगर मैं आपको example दूं, some companies, they want to remain only as a startup. Why? Because startup gets so many benefits. Okay, like in terms of taxes. Like if you see Groffer shifted to Blinkit. Okay, so earlier Groffer has some other idea. Blinkit has an idea that we will deliver you in 10 minutes. Okay, so ultimately again it is recognized as a startup with innovative idea. Clear? Clear? So I hope it is clear to you. So first of all you must know the definition. Now ultimately what is the role of government? अब business start करना है आपने as a startup. So ultimately it is run by you. Government is creating an ecosystem of startup. So when government is saying that we are creating an ecosystem of startup, so it means we will focus on three things, or you can say 3C. Okay. So ultimately अगर मैंने आज startup start किया, if suppose I started a startup and I fulfill the definition of startup, so I need support of government. So government says we will create ecosystem for you. What ecosystem government is talking about? Government is talking about 3C. 3C. Now 3C means capital. So ultimately to grow my business or to expand my business, I need capital, or to expand my startup, I need money. So government is going to provide you capital. Number two, courage. Courage means, like in startup, you come out with so many ideas, so you want to test it. Okay, either on the ground, that is practical, or you want to test it in a lab. So government says we will give you that support also in the form of courage. Okay, you come and test your idea. And number three, connections. Connection means every business run on network. Okay, every business run on network. So we will help you to develop your network. Clear? So ultimately, if you have seen a very famous show, Shark Tank, so there also they talk about these things. So when any investor is giving money to the startup, so they says we will give you capital. Okay, then they talk about connections also, that I have a ready-made market. If I come in your startup, so you will get benefit in this way. So connections. Courage, like some investor used to say that you develop an idea, we will support you. Okay, so you can say courage. Clear? Okay. See, some are writing that it is a method to convert black money into white. See, when you read economy, so our focus is that your intention is clear. Okay, your intention is clear. So this is what you have to remember. Clear? तो अगर देखा जाए इन चीजों को प्रोवाइड करने के लिए गवर्नमेंट हैज सेट अप 10,000 crore corpus startup India fund. So government has set up one startup India fund with a corpus of 10,000 crore. Okay, with a corpus of 10,000 crores. Okay, now ultimately whenever you start a business, no doubt you have idea, so you want to be a secretive. Okay, so you don't want that my idea gets stored, or you can say copied by someone else. Okay, so ultimately you have a factor this thing that if I implement it, big player will copy it. So in order to bring a courage in you, so government has relaxed the patent laws. Government has relaxed the patent laws. So when I am saying government has relaxed the patent laws, it means there will be no fees for the startups to register its patent. Okay. Number two, they have relaxed patent laws as per the startups only. Clear? So this is what you have to remember. Clear? This is what you have to remember. Also when we talk about insolvency and bankruptcy code, so there normally the procedure is that you have to close that procedure in 180 days. But for the startup, if suppose I opened a startup and after 2 years I realize that I cannot able to run it, so I want to exit from this startup, so I can sell it or I can close it through IBC, and that procedure will be done in 90 days. So ultimately this is what government is giving. So ultimately before IBC, which was introduced in 2016, if someone started a company and that person is not able to handle the company, so we used to see that this person has, you can say, ruined the life of so many people. तो मतलब कितने लोगों को बर्बाद कर दिया, क्यों? क्योंकि नीचे कितने सारे लोग उसके साथ काम कर रहे हैं. तो अगर मैंने स्टार्टअप खोला और मेरे नीचे 100 लोग काम कर रहे हैं, मतलब 100 एम्प्लॉइज आर वर्किंग विद मी, तो अगर कल को मैं नहीं चला पाया तो वो सारे के सारे 100 लोग मेरे पे डिपेंडेंट है. तो आई हैव, यू कैन से, लोग, पीपल विल से दैट कितने लोगों को बर्बाद कर दिए. नाउ आईबीसी इज देयर, इट मींस टाइमली आई कैन टेक अ एक्शन कि मैं नहीं संभाल पा रहा तो समवन एल्स विल टेक. सो समवन एल्स विल परचेज माय स्टार्टअप एंड दे विल रन द स्टार्टअप. तो कभी कभार होता है कि मैं नहीं संभाल पा रहा तो कोई और संभालेगा. तो दिस प्रोसीजर हैज टू बी कंप्लीटेड इन 90 days. So this is the another thing, that IBC procedure has to be completed in 90 days. Okay, it has to be completed in 90 days. But obviously यार एक स्टूडेंट लिख रहे सर employed get ruined. Yes, that is what. Okay, next, apart from this, startups are getting multiple tax benefits like you can say they get exemptions for 3 years, that they don't have to pay any tax on their income. Okay, so they get exemption. Okay, this is what you have to remember. Okay, they have to get exemption. Okay, so no you can say exemption has been given. Similarly, if there is any profit also, so you don't have to pay any capital gain tax. Don't worry, we have a separate chapter, taxation, so there I will talk about these things. Capital gain tax. Similarly, जब भी आप कंपनी खोलते हो, there are, you can say, some compliance. So there it has been stated that it should be self compliance you have to follow. Means startup को साफ बोला गया कि हम आपको तंग नहीं करेंगे. Means government will not disturb you. Okay, so you can say self compliance. Okay, self compliance. Okay, apart from this, if you see, government used to conduct Prarambh Summit. So where Prarambh Summit, so many industrialists are sitting there. Prarambh Summit, and recently government has talked about startups in SEO also. So SEO Startup Summit also is there. So what is the purpose of SEO Startup Summit? Prarambh Summit, or what is the relevance of SEO Startup Summit? That it will provide network to the startups to sell their products or sell their idea to some big players. So ultimately network. So government is providing these benefits to the startups. So this is what you have to remember with respect to, startups in India. Clear? So ultimately, if you see, question can be framed with respect to your startup. So ultimately here you have to understand what is the intention of the government. Government is basically creating ecosystem for the startup where they focus on 3C, and in 3C this way they are focusing. So either question they can ask you on definition. So first of all you must know the definition of startup, and second you know the features of this startup. Clear? So if there is any question you can easily solve it. Now come to Stand Up India. Now can anyone tell me what is the intention or objective of Stand Up India? So Stand Up India is also related to startup. So can anyone tell me what is the objective? No idea. Women encouraged. Okay. Now ultimately when I talk to stand up, so ultimately if any startup is started by SC, ST or any women, so to such startups, government will help to provide bank loans. So ultimately what I want to say that if any startup is initiated by either SC, ST or women, so no doubt they get benefit from Startup India scheme. Apart from this, government has separately come out with another scheme that is known as Stand Up India. Now in Stand Up India, what government is doing? In Stand Up India, government is basically providing bank loans to these startups. So ultimately question will come, who are the beneficiaries? So you can say startups which are owned by SC, ST or women. Okay. Now under this, government will provide bank loan that is between rupees 10 lakh to 1 crore, at least to one borrower, or you can say once they will give it to either to one this startup or this startup. So in this, government is giving a loan of 10 lakh to 1 crore. Okay, 1 crore, that is per bank branch, at least to one SC, ST, or you can say startup headed by SC, ST, okay, or startup headed by women. Okay, at least. So this is what 10 lakh to 1 crore at least. So it is not, although at least one has to be given, although maximum there is no limit, at least you can say loan in this range to these beneficiaries per branch, per bank branch. So आप इसको ऐसे भी समझ सकते हो, assume that in your area there is any one bank. So government has mandated that bank, for example, if suppose in your area there is only SBI, one bank, so government has mandated that SBI you have to give loan between this range to at least one startup which is headed by SC, ST and women. Okay, so this is what it has been mandatory, at least one. और अगर आप नहीं दोगे तो हम आप पे penalize करेंगे. तो साल में एक लोन तो देना ही है आपको. तो मतलब आप अपने आप क्लाइंट ढूंढोगे और दोगे. Okay, so it has been made mandatory. Clear? Clear. But जब भी वो लोन दे रहे हैं जिस भी स्टार्टअप को, it is mandatory that अब ये ना हो कि सारा का सारा पैसे ये स्टार्टअप बैंक से ही ले रहे हैं. So इनके लिए मैंडेटरी है कि जो भी आपका स्टार्टअप है उसके अंदर 10% आप लगाओगे. Okay, so 10% has to be invested by startup itself, or you can say by beneficiary. So now you know who is the beneficiary. These are the beneficiaries. So at least 10% has to be invested by beneficiaries. So this is what you have to remember. Clear? Next, अगर मैं rate of interest देखूं, so इसके अंदर जो rate of interest है, that is decided by base rate. Base rate is here marginal cost of lending rate. Okay, so that is decided by base rate. Okay, marginal cost of lending rate plus 3% plus tenor premium. So when we'll do monetary policy, there we'll talk about bank rate. So bank rate, you know, repo rate, bank rate will decide the MCLR rate. Okay, bank rate will decide the MCLR rate. MCLR further decide once you decide the MCLR, marginal cost of lending rate, plus 3% plus tenor premium. Now tenor premium here means if you take loan for less than, or you can say for 1 or 2 years, so risk is less. But if you take loan for 10 years, risk is high. So ultimately, if you are taking loan for more time period, risk is high, so tenor premium will be high. Otherwise, it is less. Clear? So this will decide your, you can say, rate of interest for these startups. So again, I am summarizing it. Stand Up India scheme is for, you can say, those startups which are headed by or owned by SC, ST or women. Under this, it is mandatory for the banks to give loan between this range, that is 10 lakh to 1 crore. And whenever they are giving loan, okay, rate of interest will be decided in this way. That is whatever is MCLR plus 3% plus tenor premium. Okay. Now some people think that MCLR has replaced और खत्म कर दिया गया. ऐसा नहीं है. अभी हम MCLR भी यूज करते हैं और एक्सटर्नल बेंचमार्क रेट भी यूज करते हैं. ओके, तो काफी लोगों को ये लगता है कि MCLR अभी यूज नहीं करते हैं. MCLR आज भी यूज करते हैं, ओके, प्लस बेंचमार्क रेट भी, एक्सटर्नल बेंचमार्क रेट भी यूज करते हैं, क्लियर? सो रिमेंबर दिस थिंग, ओके, क्लियर? तो ये चीज याद रखना, क्लियर? क्लियर? नाउ अल्टीमेटली every bank branch has to give this loan, okay, every bank branch has to give loan. So when I am saying every bank branch has to give loan, it means one to SC/ST, or you can say startup owned by SC/ST, and one to women, that is startup owned by women, clear? So this is what you have to remember. So these are the features of, you can say, Stand Up India scheme. So these schemes are related, that is why I have covered it together, clear? Now come to Make in India, okay. Now in Make in India you have to remember, now first of all, where you get confused or where UPSC will make you confused, most of the people think that Make in India is for manufacturing sector, but Make in India is for both manufacturing and service sector, okay, remember this thing, okay, it is for both. I hope you know the difference between manufacturing and service. Okay, it is for both manufacturing and service sector, because automatically if statement is there in UPSC that Make in India focus on manufacturing, no doubt it focus on manufacturing, but it also focus on services, so it focus on both. तो कल को अगर स्टेटमेंट आ जाए इट फोकस ओनली ऑन मैन्युफैक्चरिंग, तो कई लोगों ने यहाँ पढ़ रखा था कि ओनली वर्ड है तो गलत होगा, ओके, नो डाउट यहाँ पर तो गलत ही है, ओके, कभी कभार यूपीएससी सही भी दे देती है ओनली वर्ड लगा के. तो अल्टीमेटली व्हेन यू टॉक अबाउट मैन्युफैक्चरिंग, ओके, सो most of you think that ki Make in India is for manufacturing. Yes, it is for manufacturing plus services also. Now when it comes to manufacturing, it is basically, you can say, implemented by Department for the Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade, DPIIT. Okay, so with respect to Make in India for manufacturing, it is implemented by which department? That is Department for the promotion of industry and internal trade. Okay, now one student is asking, sir, if women is SC/ST, matlab SC/ST women only, sir. See, in that case it is regarded as SC/ST, that is startup headed by SC/ST only. Clear? Clear? DPIIT. Okay, and this services sector is implemented by Make in India, and service sector is implemented by Department of Commerce. And both these departments are part of which ministry? That is Ministry of Commerce and Industry. Both these are part of Ministry of Commerce and Industry. So this is what you have to remember. Now under this there are 4 pillars. Now under this there are 4 pillars, and these 4 pillars are new processes, number 1, new infrastructure, number 2, new sectors, number 3, and new mindset. Okay. Now when I am talking about new processes, so in Make in India there are 4 pillars. So basically Government of India welcoming manufacturing and service sector under Make in India, and they ensure manufacturing and service sector that we will come with new processes. So when I am saying new processes, what does it mean? That we will bring reforms in ease of doing business. So I used to say that easy entry and easy exit. So easy entry means when you enter into or when you open a company, you want from the government that we want minimum interference from your side, means minimum regulations. So it means rather than submitting, you can say 10 papers, okay, 10 documents for opening a company, I want you ask me only one document, and my company get registered in you can say 1 or 2 days. It is not like that it is taking 20 days. Like in USA, if you want to open a company, it can be opened in few hours. 3-4 hours company is open or registered in your name. But in India, it takes around 1 month. Okay, earlier it used to be more than that. Okay, so that is why Modi government sometimes used to say that earlier the rank in ease of doing business, which is released by WTO. So earlier the rank was, you can say, if you see the rank of India in ease of doing business, okay, was in 3 digit. Now it is in 2 digits. So this is an improvement, or you can say achievement for India. Okay, number 1. Number 2, when you talk about exit, so I talked about IBC. So in IBC, if suppose I am not able to run the company, before IBC I have no choice to exit, but now I have a choice or option to exit from the company. Exit means I am not able to handle it, someone else will handle. So it is like this, कि when I feel that कि I am not able to bring the company in profit, तो अभी no doubt loss तो होना शुरू हुआ, but अभी इतना loss नहीं हुआ कि मैं पूरा ही बर्बाद हो गया. तो rather than going to that बर्बादी stage, I have handed over the company to someone else who is expert in making it further in profit. Clear? So this is what is the application, or you can say relevancy of IBC. Next, when you start working in a country, so no doubt there are so many disputes, or you can say misunderstanding with the, you can say, government officials, like in case of Vodafone. But we don't want it should be, you can say, prolonged. So if any dispute is there with any authority, government authority, it must be resolved in less time. So that is why if you see, government also talked about Arbitration and Conciliation Act. Okay, so again it is important for your exam. Arbitration and Conciliation Act. Okay, so you can expect, not in prelims but in mains, you can expect a question in Arbitration and Conciliation Act. Clear? Now moving further, this is what new process. Now when we talk about new infrastructure, although we have a separate topic also in infrastructure. Now when we talk about new infrastructure, so here my focus is on new infrastructure, means I have to reduce my logistic cost. Okay, that can be reduced by taking certain action, so that I'll tell you in infrastructure chapter. So right now my logistic cost is 14% of GDP, which I want to reduce it to 10% of GDP. Okay, so ultimately if quality infrastructure is there, you will establish or you will have a companies in India. So right now you know that currently government is working to improve the logistic sector of, or logistic things. Okay, clear? So this is what you have to understood. Now next, new sectors. So when you talk about new sectors, it means we are talking about Industrial Revolution 4.0. So you know that there are 4 industrial revolution, although 5th one is also there. So we are working on that also, Industrial Revolution 4.0. So right now if you see, Government of India, okay, even Prime Minister stated one thing, that we cannot miss Industrial Revolution 4.0. So this is the 3rd pillar in Make in India. Okay, and new mindset means we need a coordination of public private partnership, PPP. So we need to reform that PPP model also. Okay, PPP model also. So I can give you one example, another committee I'll tell you, Vijay Kelkar committee with respect to infrastructure. Okay, Vijay Kelkar committee with respect to infrastructure. He talked about, or this committee talked about, that we have to link PPP models or PPP projects with Prevention of Corruption Act. So ultimately what he said, like for example, if you are an engineer and you develop something or develop infrastructure project, so there can be, you can say, sometimes you develop infrastructure, suppose that infrastructure has a defect. Now that defect can be due to 2 reasons. there may be some unintentional experience, or you can say practice taken by you. For example, you use some technology and due to that technology there is defect. But your intention is correct. So you can say it is done accidentally. Second, that is done deliberately. You can say corruption case. So Vijay Kelkar committee said that when it comes to infrastructure, you have to differentiate between the default. Is it deliberately or is it you can say by mistake? Okay. Otherwise, अभी हम क्या करते हैं, अगर कोई default आ जाए, तो we used to arrest the engineer first. Okay. Now ultimately it's a challenge. So we have to differentiate between the two. Okay. Then only engineer can work properly or infrastructure company can work properly. So defect can be by mistake also. Every defect or every default you cannot say that is done deliberately. Clear? So this is what you have to understand. Clear? So new mindset. So ultimately Modi government is trying to talk about that कि we will bring new mindset so that we have a better coordination with public and private sector. Okay, or better coordination between public and private sector. So you can write these things on your own. Okay. So I hope this is clear to you. Okay. No doubt in infrastructure we'll talk about PM Gati Shakti. Okay. So what you know, I'll tell you more than that. Don't worry about it. Okay. Clear? So ultimately with this Make in India, our target is to surpass China, or you can say become a manufacturing hub, global manufacturing hub. But no doubt China has reached to that level. So nowadays I was reading one article. So we are talking about hyper globalization in respect to China as a manufacturing hub. So China has so strong hold. So we have to see how government policies help to you can say overcome, or you can say surpass China. So time will tell. But right now what is the situation that I have told you. Clear? Next, come to PLI scheme, another important scheme of you can say agriculture, this industry. So production link incentive scheme, you know that it was introduced after COVID or pandemic in 21. Production link incentive scheme. So basically production link incentive scheme is an extension of Make in India. It is an extension of Make in India. So basically first understand what is the rationale behind. Okay. So what is the rationale behind this Make in India? Okay. So first you have to understand what is the rationale behind this PLI. So already we have seen. Now basically you know that because of pandemic, the production of a companies, okay, get disturbed, or you can say it get reduced. Now ultimately government want that if you bring your pre-pandemic production level, and once you bring it, whatever additional you make over that, okay, we will incentivize you. Example, suppose in 2019 your factory is producing 100 products. Okay, now due to pandemic, that is 2021, your production get disturbed. So it has come to 40 products. Now government introduced this PLI during this time, where they focus that if you increase your production, what you have in pre-pandemic level, we will incentivize you. So ultimately this is a conditional based or conditional scheme. So companies will get benefit of this scheme only when they increase their production whatever they have in pre-pandemic level. So ultimately I will get benefit only when my production is more than pre-pandemic, means 2018-19 whatever. So in 2018-19 my production is 100, now my production is 40. So ultimately first I have to come to this level. Once I reach to pre-pandemic level, over that whatever production I'll have, whatever additional production I have, so government is going to give me, you can say, financial support for this additional production. For this additional production. So I hope the base of the scheme is clear. Okay. I hope the base of the scheme is clear. Okay. So this is what you have to remember. Clear? Clear? Now, under this scheme, government is supporting only 14 sectors. Okay. Government is supporting only 14 sectors. So you must know what are those 14 sectors. Okay. So under this scheme, government is supporting only 14 sectors. So initially it was 13, but now government has added one more sector, that is 14 sectors. Okay. Now, when you talk about these 14 sectors, okay, so first is mobile manufacturing and specified electronic components. So please remember this thing. And specified electronic components. So when we are talking about specified electronic components, we are only talking about, you can say, whatever you can say spare part needed for mobile manufacturing. Okay. So ultimately our focus is on mobiles. So this is what you have to remember. Okay. This is what you have to remember. Clear? Clear? Next. Next is critical key starting material, or you can say drugs. So ultimately, you know, there are active pharmaceutical drugs. Okay. Active pharmaceutical ingredients, or you can say drugs. So ultimately, there are some drugs which you cannot consume directly without prescription. Okay. So these drugs are added to make another drugs. So ultimately second, we are focusing on these things. Third, we are focusing on medical devices. Okay. Third, medical devices. So if you see in India, if you see the schemes, although that is not important for your prelims, so government has also set up medical device park. Okay, medical device park. So government is focusing on those areas also. Okay, medical device, this thing. Okay, next is automobiles and auto components. Okay, automobiles and auto components. So this is what again you have to remember, automobiles and auto components. Next is pharmaceutical drugs. So whatever API you are using that you are making pharmaceutical drugs. So this is the fifth. So you can remember the second, third and fifth together because they are from same field. Okay, pharmaceutical drugs. Next, if you see steel, specialty steel. So you can say variety of steel where government is focusing. Okay, specialty steels. So this is what you have to remember. Next, telecom and networking products. So ultimately, like your optical fiber and all those things, whatever you need, tower and all those things, that is called telecom and networking products. Okay, so you can say to run your mobile, okay, to use your mobile you need some infrastructure, that is called telecom and networking, you can say product. Next is electronic / technology park. Okay, so apart from mobile phone there are other electronic products also. Okay, apart from this we have special focus on white goods. Your like white goods are your AC. Okay, AC, LEDs, they are all are the example of white goods. Okay. Next, food products. So you can say we are focusing on food products, or you can say processed food. Next, there is an emphasis on textile products also. So if you see, this year government has set up mega textile park. Okay, mega textile park. Next, you have to focus on solar PV modules. Solar PV modules. Okay, and we are also focusing on advanced chemistry cell battery. Now what is advanced chemistry cell battery? Like we talk about lithium, now we are talking about hydrogen also, like hydrogen batteries. So ultimately whatever advancement is there, okay, so we are talking about that, means whatever is the conventional or you can say non-conventional source which are used to run the batteries. Okay, so they are called as advanced chemistry cell batteries. Clear? And last, which is added recently, that is drones. Okay, that is drones and drone component. Okay, that is drone and drone component. Seventh is telecom and networking components or products. Drones and drone component. See, either if you see that there are some products which are not included, like there is a demand that other product must also be included. Okay, but like for example toys, so there is a demand that toy industry should also be a part of this, because if you see Modi government focused on that also. Okay, so they are not included. So ultimately you remember these 14 items. So again, if you see the previous year question, UPSC has not asked question on PLI. So here there are chances that you can say UPSC can ask a question. Okay, clear? क्लियर? अब अल्टीमेटली यहां पर हम बात कर रहे हैं कि इन सेक्टर्स को इंसेंटिवाइज किया जाएगा, और कब किया जाएगा? सो नाउ यू नो द कंडीशन कि whenever they increase their production above the pre-pandemic level. Now whatever production they have increased, government, or you can say to increase the production above the pre-pandemic level, so government will give 4% to 6%. तो इसको बनाने के लिए जो भी कॉस्ट आई है, ओके, उसका 4 to 6% government will give as a incentive. Okay, so whatever production they have increased, so for example in 2022 I have a production of, for example, you can say 120 products. So ultimately you can say that there is a addition of 20 products. Now whatever is the cost of manufacturing of 20 product, so government will give 4 to 6% of that as a incentive, and this will be given for next 5 years. Clear? This will be given for next 5 years. Clear? Clear? So ultimately some are want to see the again. So again I will tell you, so some are demanding. So again, first is mobile manufacturing and specified electronic component. Second is advanced pharmaceutical ingredients or drugs. Okay, so they are very dangerous drugs. Okay, so there are some drugs which will, you can say, once you eat, so like sleeping, if suppose someone is not having a or not able to have a sound sleep, so doctor used to give API only, but only on recommendation you can consume. Similarly, there are some API which will make your brain active. Okay, so this is thing also. Okay, but you don't, or you can say these drugs are taken only on the recommendation of government only, or so this doctors only. So once doctors will recommend, then only, okay, or only you can consume it. Okay, next is medical devices automobile and auto components, pharmaceutical drugs, specialty steels, telecom and network product, electronic products, white goods like AC, food products, okay, food products, okay, food products, next textile products, solar PV modules, advanced chemistry cell batteries, and last is drones and drone component. Clear? So this is what you have to remember with respect to industries. Okay. Now with respect to industry, if you see, coal sector is very important. Can anyone tell me why coal sector is important for your prelims? Okay. And don't expect they are going to ask you coal कहाँ मिलता है, कैसे मिलता है, ठीक है, वो नहीं पूछने वाले वो सब चीजें. Okay, they are the past things. Okay, पहले पूछते थे कोल का टाइप्स क्या है जो आप रखते हो, फिर ब्यूटिमिनस, एंथ्रासाइड और ये सब चीजें. ओके, तो वो पहले पूछते थे कोल का चीज. ओके, बट अभी कोल में क्या इश्यू है, कोई बता सकता है? अगर इजी क्वेश्चन पूछ रहे होते. यस, Raksha Yadav, you have mentioned, I think Raksha, yes, coal shortage last year. Okay, and due to coal shortage, what is the challenge? That power sectors, or you can say power, those who are producing electricity, okay, power plants, they don't have enough coal. So you know that still my country is dependent on thermal power plant, or you can say your more than 60% of your energy is coming from thermal power plant. So ultimately coal is one of the important input. Okay, coal is one of the important input that you have to understand. Okay, that you have to understand. Now in order to ensure that there is a proper supply of coals, okay, proper supply of coal to power sector, okay, or power plant, because ultimately if power plant utilize their capacity, then only we can ensure electricity for all. So can anyone tell me what initiative has been taken with respect to coal sector so that power supply has, or so that coal power plant has enough supply of coal? See, if you are still mugging up that data कि मतलब कि कोल की टाइप्स क्या है, कोल कहाँ मिलता है, जो आपने ज्योग्राफी में पढ़ा होगा, तो either I'll suggest you that very less chances that they are going to ask this question. Yes, earlier they used to ask, but that time our policies were also old. So ultimately you can say there was nothing new in that. But now government has come out with so many new policies. So one of the important policy I am looking from your side. तो कोई बता सकता है कौन सी पॉलिसी की मैं बात कर रहा हूं यहां पर? एनीवन? यस, शक्ति पॉलिसी. तो कोई बताएगा शक्ति पॉलिसी में क्या है? Although if you will not tell, I'll tell you. So Shakti stands for Scheme for Harnessing and Allocating Koila Transparently in India. Scheme, Shakti policy. So I am talking about Shakti. So Shakti policy has something. So Shakti stands for Scheme for Harnessing. Okay, Scheme for Harnessing and Allocating Koila. Koila means coal. Coal transparently in India. Okay. Scheme for harnessing and allocating koila transparently in India. Okay. Now again you know that import of coal. So when I am saying import of coal, it does not mean that 100% we are importing, although we are producing coal in our country also, but whatever we are producing, that is not sufficient. Okay, so we have to depend on the import of coal, number one. Number two, our power plants are utilizing the old technology to produce power. So you can say underperformance, or you can say they are not utilizing their full capacity. Okay, so अगर आप देखोगे हमारे जितने भी power plants है, thermal power plants, they are old. They are old. Why they are old? Old means they are using old technologies to produce power. Okay, to produce power. अब ultimately हो क्या रहा है? अब जो आप पावर प्रोड्यूस कर रहे हो, ओके, जो भी पावर प्रोड्यूस कर रहे हो, उसके लिए आप यू कैन से दैट यू आर नाउ अंडर परफॉर्मिंग और योर पावर प्लांट इज अंडर परफॉर्मिंग. अगर आप इफ पावर प्लांट शिफ्ट टू लेटेस्ट टेक्नोलॉजी, so ultimately two things will happen. Your power generation will also increase, plus new technology require less coal. Okay, so ultimately due to old technology your performance is, or you are underperforming. Okay, or you can say not able to utilize full capacity. Okay, so ultimately if power plant shift to new technology, if they shift to new technology, so two things will happen. Number one, less input is needed. Okay, less input is needed. Less input is needed. So this is what you have to remember. So I am going to tell you Shakti policy, but before that I am developing your base. Actually how Shakti policy is working. Okay, so I don't want that I just read the features and you understand in this way. Okay, so ultimately when you shift to new technology, so less input is needed. Okay, in the form of coal, because old technology consume more coal. Okay, तो आपको ही पता है कि अगर आप पहले पुराना पंखा यूज कर रहे हो, which is 1 star, so more electricity will be consumed. Now you shift it to latest technology 5 star. So ultimately what will happen? Your fan will now use less energy. So ultimately your bill will be less. So यहाँ पर भी यही चीज है कि जब आप less input use करोगे, okay, less input is needed, plus more power generation. More power generation. So two things will happen. Clear? Clear. Now come to Shakti policy. Now we'll understand what actually Shakti policy is. Okay. Okay. Now what is Shakti policy? So we will see the Shakti policy now. Now when I am talking about Shakti policy, okay, so there you have to understand one thing, that before Shakti policy, government used to have purchase power agreement with power plants. Okay, purchase power agreement with power plant. तो शक्ति पॉलिसी आने से पहले हम क्या करते थे? परचेज पावर एग्रीमेंट साइन करते थे. किसके साथ? पावर प्लांट के साथ. अब पावर प्लांट क्या करते थे? जितना भी उनको कोल चाहिए उसके हिसाब से वो डिमांड करते थे कि हमें इतना कोल चाहिए, तो हमें एग्रीमेंट साइन कर रहे हैं. क्लियर? तो पावर प्लांट को पता है कि हम पुरानी टेक्नोलॉजी यूज कर रहे हैं, तो मेरी रिक्वायरमेंट इतनी है. बट गवर्नमेंट व्हाट दे डिड, दे डिड, अगर आपको कोल चाहिए, हम इस पावर परचेज एग्रीमेंट और परचेज पावर एग्रीमेंट को कैंसिल कर रहे हैं, मतलब हम इसको यूज नहीं करेंगे। तो अगर सपोज कर लो आप पावर प्लांट हो और मैं गवर्नमेंट हूं, आपके साथ मैंने बिगिनिंग में एक एग्रीमेंट कर लिया, आपके साथ बिगिनिंग में एक मैंने क्या कर लिया, एग्रीमेंट, जिसके अंदर मैंने बोला आपको मैं एक्स यूनिट कोल दूंगा। अब मैं जब आपको एक्स यूनिट कोल दे रहा हूं, इसका मतलब यह कि एक बारी अगर साल में खत्म हो गया, आपको दोबारा मेरे साथ एग्रीमेंट करना पड़ेगा खरीदने के लिए। क्लियर? तो इसके अंदर मतलब क्या है कि आप खरीदोगे ही उतना जितना चाहिए, जितने आपके प्लांट की कैपेसिटी है, और जो कितनी चल रही है, अंडर यूटिलाइज चल रही है, आप अपनी प्लांट की कैपेसिटी को कम यूज कर रहे हो। अब गवर्नमेंट कहती है हम एक काम करते हैं, कि हम कोल लिंकेज करना शुरू करते हैं। कोल लिंकेज, अगर आप शिफ्ट करोगे नई टेक्नोलॉजी पे, हम आपको कोल प्रोवाइड करेंगे कम रेट पे। ओके, नई टेक्नोलॉजी पे शिफ्ट करने का मतलब क्या है कि आपको लेस इनपुट मिलेगा, मोर पावर यू विल हैव। ओके, मोर पावर यू हैव। तो अल्टीमेटली शक्ति पॉलिसी व्हाट इट यूज्ड टू से, अगर पावर प्लांट है, उसको अगर कोल चाहिए, तो फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल जितनी भी कोल माइनिंग है वो डिसाइड करेगी पावर प्लांट कितनी पास में है, वो कहां पर अपनी पावर को जनरेट करके बेच रही है, ओके, और कौन सी टेक्नोलॉजी यूज कर रही है। तो इस बेसिस के ऊपर हम आपको कोल एलोकेट करेंगे। तो अल्टीमेटली कोल लिंकेज। सो अगर आप ये देखो, अगर आप शिफ्ट करते हो नई टेक्नोलॉजी पे, आपको कोल अब पड़ेगा, एक तो कम कोल चाहिए, और सरकार आपको इंसेंटिवाइज कर रही है कि हम आपको अगर नई टेक्नोलॉजी यूज करोगे जिसमें आपकी कोल रिक्वायरमेंट भी कम होगी और हम आपकी कॉस्ट भी कम करेंगे, ताकि इलेक्ट्रिसिटी कम रेट पे बने। क्लियर? सो दिस इज व्हाट दे आर गोइंग टू डू इन दिस थिंग। क्लियर? So this is what they are going to do this thing in Shakti policy. So ultimately in Shakti policy, you can say power plants are given coal on certain criteria. For example, plant efficiency, okay, coal transportation cost, transmission charges and overall cost of power. तो अल्टीमेटली वो आपकी तभी आएगी जब आप नई टेक्नोलॉजी को यूज करोगे। क्लियर? सो अल्टीमेटली द मोर you are using new technology, or you can say the better you are utilizing your capacity, you will get coal at less prices. Okay, तो यहां पर ये 3-4 फैक्टर्स हैं जो डिसाइड करेंगे। सो राइट, अंडर शक्ति पॉलिसी, okay, so some says Hindi, some says English, so I have to balance it. So I'll just tell you again, I repeat for you in English. Now Shakti policy is introduced to ensure that coal availability must be there for every sector, or you can say for power plant, without any disruption. So if you see the condition of power plants in India, or you can say coal sector, so first of all we are dependent on import for the coal. Number 2, our power plants are underperforming. Now in order to you can say perform better, our power plant has to shift to latest technology, and that can be possible with Shakti policy. So ultimately before Shakti policy, government used to allocate. तो अगर suppose कर लो you are power plant, I am allocating coal to you. Now this is the coal that you have to use and generate electricity. So it means there is no incentive for you to improve your condition, because you know that I am getting coal at this price. Why should I invest money in my power plant so that with the same coal I can produce more? Now government came with the concept coal linkage policy. Means if your plant is efficient, means you are utilizing your full capacity, okay, you are utilizing your full capacity, okay, then we will provide you coal at less prices. So ultimately your coal prices get linked to your capacity utilization. Okay, so ultimately it is like this, ki if you are studying and you are studying to your full extent or full capacity, I will give you more, you can say, advantage or more support. So it is like this. Okay, it is like this. So here you can say right now, right under Shakti policy, coal prices are determined by various factors. Under Shakti policy, coal prices are determined by various factors, and these factors are number one, plant efficiency, that is power plant efficiency. Number two, coal transportation cost. Number three, transmission charges. And number four, overall cost of power. So ultimately number one is, please tell me, please recall, remember in class itself, that is plant efficiency. This is the first factor. Number two, coal transportation cost. Number three, if you see, transmission charges. Transmission charges means once you made a power, so you have to transmit to distribution centers. So ultimately you have talked or studied about AT&C losses, that is transmission losses. So they must be minimum. So we are talking about those losses. Okay, so such losses must be minimum. Okay, so ultimately when they are minimum, so your transmission cost will be less, and ultimately overall cost of power. Okay, so if you bring improvement in this, you will get coal at less prices. Okay, coal at less prices. अब ultimately आप ये देखो, इसमें गवर्नमेंट को क्या फायदा हो रहा है? Government is getting benefit because if you see, government has to import the coal. So ultimately import bill is increasing. But when all the power plant, held, or you can say started utilizing their maximum capacity. Okay, it means it will help to everyone. First of all, input of coal will get reduced, number one. Okay, so ultimately अब इसमें गवर्नमेंट को क्या फायदा हो रहा है? तो देखो कि अगर शक्ति पॉलिसी के थ्रू शक्ति पॉलिसी, power plant will get coal at less price only when they use latest technology. It means when they use latest technology, it means coal as an input will be less required, number one. Number two, they are able to generate more power. When they are able to generate more power means electricity price will also less. Okay, electricity price will also less. Okay, and ultimately when all the power plant shift to the latest technology, government dependence on import will reduce, and ultimately domestic coal, whatever we are producing, that will become sufficient only. Or you can say, if extra will be there, government is able to export the coal also. Okay, plus further extension of this, just like in mobile phone there is mobile portability, Okay, so if suppose you are using, you can say, mobile phone of one company or mobile connection of one company, for example Vodafone Idea, now you want to shift to another company, for example Reliance Jio, so you have that option. Similarly, if I am a consumer and I am using electricity, so you know that these power plants are run by private companies also, so I found that nearby Discom is purchasing, you can say, power from there. So ultimately I can also say that I want to shift from this Discom to this Discom. So ultimately in my area, if there are so many Discoms, so I am living in this area and there are, for example, 3 Discoms, Discom 1, Discom 2 and Discom 3, which are purchasing power from various power plants. Okay, so different power plants. So if I have an option to purchase energy from anywhere, okay, so ultimately Discom also know that we purchase power plant from that company which is offering less. so that consumer, otherwise we will lose our consumer. So this is the connection of Shakti policy and government is working over that. I hope it is clear to you. Okay. Now ultimately if you see, sometimes we have seen that there is illegal mining of coal also. Now in order to stop that thing, government has come out with another thing, that is Khan Prahari scheme. Okay, where you can Khan Prahari scheme. Okay, so ultimately Prahari Khan Prahari scheme, where if suppose I found that someone is doing illegal coal mining, so I can click the photo and send it to the government without, or government will not disclose my identity. So my identity will not be revealed. Okay, so ultimately there is these options also. Clear? Okay. Clear? So this is what you have to remember. Similarly to ensure better transportation of coal from you can say coal mining areas to power plant, we have come out with another scheme known as Prakash. So Prakash basically stands for Power Rail Koila Availability through Supply Harmony. Okay, Power Rail Koila Availability through Supply Harmony. So this is what you have to remember. Clear? See, no one is going to ask you about rat hole mining or any other type of mining. Don't worry about it. So if it is important, so they have asked in previous year also, because they are the old concepts. So aaj tak nahi pucha, to chances are very less they will ask again you. But this Shakti is important. This Shakti policy is important, and once government able to achieve its target of Shakti policy, that every power plant shift to the latest technology, then government will start with, just like in mobile phone, you have portability option, that you can port your mobile from one company to another or shift from one company to another. Same facility will be there also, that if suppose one discom is not giving me electricity, continuous electricity, and if it is giving me continuous also, and that electricity is not 24/7, okay, that electricity is not 24/7 or costly also, so I can change my discoms also. But this is only possible when all the power plant companies shift to you can say to new technology. Clear? Now if you see the further extension of this year, or you can say last year, government has come out with open access policy for renewable energy. How many of you know about it? Open access policy for renewable energy. How many of you know about it? Please tell me. Open access policy. Okay. See, again, if you take UPSC lightly, then UPSC will take you lightly. These are the latest thing that you are going to expect in your question, either directly or indirectly. Okay. Can anyone tell me open access policy? So this open access policy for renewable energy. So government has already started this thing, that if suppose I am a consumer, so all of you are consuming electricity. Okay. So in some areas government has started that consumer can demand from the discoms that I need green energy, okay, or renewable energy. So you supply green energy to my house. Clear? So ultimately, if any consumer has made a request to the DISCOM, so they have to fulfill it. Okay, so it is not like that कि हम तो आपको power दे रहे हैं कहीं से भी दे. So I want green power, so you have to give the green power to me. Okay, and ultimately once request has been given, so that request has to be fulfilled in 15 days. Okay, that request has to be fulfilled in 15 days. So this is about another thing that they can ask you in prelims. Okay, so you can say access to, or you can say demand for renewable energy. Okay, so government has come out with open access policy for renewable energy, and whatever, once the demand has been raised by the consumer, it has to be, you can say 15 days time period will be given to the DISCOM to supply green energy to the consumer. So it can be commercial business or commercial entity, or you can say non-commercial, residential. It is for both. Okay, it is for both. So these are the new achievement that government is coming. See, ultimately why government is doing these things, koila, or you can say Shakti policy and open access. Ultimately, you know that we have INDC target, intended nationally determined contribution. So there we have talked about reduction of GDP per emission. So GDP per emission can be reduced when our power plants, which are the major contributor of greenhouse gas, they will shift to new technology. Okay, so it is not like that ki in exam you write ki we will shift to renewable energy. Okay, in a day. See, shifting, when your more than 60% of energy is coming for thermal power, you cannot shift to renewable energy in one day or in 1 year. It will take time. Gradually you will reduce the contribution of this thermal power plant and increase the renewable energy. Similarly, if you learn from the experience of Germany, they shifted to renewable energy. Now they again shifted to, you can say, these methods, that is coal and other petroleum products. Clear? So you have to understood, like in exam, if suppose they ask you a question that, although it is not economy, if they ask you a question that they frame a question connected to economy and environment, they ask you a question that in order to achieve INDC targets, that is nationally determined contribution, which India has given in Paris conference or Paris climate change summit. So whatever those targets are there, so what economic policies reform has been brought? So it is Shakti policy, yes. Okay, it is open access, yes. Similarly, there is another concept, renewable purchase obligation. Okay, so as I told you, open access. So in open access, it is my choice or my voluntarily decision, I have to purchase or not. But there is one another policy, that is RPO, renewable energy, you can say renewable energy purchase obligation. Renewable energy purchase obligation. So in that we have clearly stated that there are some entities which have to purchase you can say renewable energy. Okay, so it is a obligation on them, okay, to purchase renewable energy. Okay, so you can say RPO is one of the mechanism by which state electricity regulatory committees, or you can say commissions, they have to oblige entities to purchase renewable energy. So जितनी भी बड़ी कंपनीज है उनके लिए मैंडेटरी है RPO obligate करना. Okay, RPO obligate करना. Clear? So it is mandatory. That is why in this way government is going to increase the demand for green energy. Okay, green energy. So ultimately green growth is the another target. Why? Because we have some international commitment. Clear? तो अब काम करोगे तभी होगा ना. So आपको उसके लिए पता होना चाहिए. तो कल को आ सकते हैं, जैसे गवर्नमेंट पूछ ले आपसे यूपीएससी में क्या इनिशिएटिव्स लिए गए हैं ग्रीन एनर्जी की मार्केट को प्रमोट करने के लिए. सो उसमें अगर आप देखोगे इकोनॉमिक पॉलिसी में दो इंपॉर्टेंट है. ठीक है, दो इंपॉर्टेंट है, एक तो ओपन एक्सेस पॉलिसी एंड आरपीओ. क्लियर? So you can expect. Now one student is asking why Germany did so, sir. See, ultimately due to you can say shifting to renewable, they are not able to produce enough energy or whatever energy is needed as per their demand. That is why they have to shift. Okay, so ultimately any single source of energy cannot be your, you can say, wholesale means to run the country. You need a combination. Okay, you need a combination. So ultimately, with respect to power plants, which are major polluters, we are shifting them to new technology so that emission get reduced. Clear? So this is what you have to understand. Okay, I hope it is clear to you. Clear? So any doubt in this? Okay. Now ultimately there is another scheme, okay, that is, you all know, that is for electric vehicle, and this is very important, and that scheme is known as FAME scheme, okay, and this FAME scheme is, you can say, FAME scheme, and this FAME scheme is basically for increasing the market share of electric vehicle. So when I am talking about electric vehicle, so here we talk about two-wheeler, okay, three-wheeler and four-wheeler, okay, two-wheeler, three-wheeler and four-wheeler. Now here remember one thing where UPSC can again confuse you. So when we talk about two-wheeler, it does not include electric bicycles, okay, it does not include electric bicycle. See, my work is to tell you those areas where you can say UPSC can confuse you. Okay. Okay, where UPSC can confuse you. Okay. So ultimately you have to remember these things. Okay. Clear? So some students are asking mains question. No doubt, no doubt, there may be possibility that KSG will conduct mains marathon also. So there we'll discuss about those things. Okay, so you have to understand my limitation also. Okay, or if you are very interested to know about these facts or these concepts in detail or these issues in details, okay, so you can contact me by taking my number from management. Okay, but here I will restrict myself to prelims. So please coordinate. Okay. Clear? So please understand or please coordinate. Okay. Now this scheme, FAME scheme, is implemented by Ministry of Heavy Industries. Ministry of Heavy Industries. So this scheme is implemented by which ministry? You have to Ministry of Heavy Industries. Okay, some are saying mains marathon. Okay, yes, definitely we will support you in mains marathon also. Okay, okay. So Ministry of Heavy Industries. So this is what you have to focus. Now in this scheme, there are four focus area. Number one is technology development. Matlab technology development with respect to electric vehicle. Okay. So in this scheme, there are four focus area. Number one, technology development. So when I am saying technology development, so no doubt in saying that we are talking about technology development of what? That is with respect to electric vehicle. Number one. Number two, demand creation. Okay. Number two, demand creation. So ultimately, we have to create a demand. अब product तो बन गया लेकिन demand नहीं है. So still people have a fear. Like if you see the reports, so there are some two-wheelers. Okay, so they get the fire. So ultimately it's a concern. So if as a consumer I'll think about it कि पता लगे मैं चला रहा हूँ और जल जाए वो. Okay, so ultimately it's a concern for me. Okay, so government has to create a demand. Next, pilot projects. Pilot projects means before launching it, government used to have, or you can say companies must trial it. Okay, or you can say end to end whatever ecosystem or infrastructure is needed. So we want to develop pilot projects. And fourth, government focused on charging infrastructure. Okay, fourth, government focused on charging infrastructure. So this is what you have to remember. Okay, so government has to focus on charging infrastructure also. Clear? So this is what you have to remember. Clear? Now, this program has been implemented in two phases. Phase 1 we implemented in, you can say, from 2015 to 2019, and now we are implementing, or phase 2 is implemented from 2019 to 2022. So last year it get over. So definitely there are chances that they can ask you about this scheme. Okay, so ultimately you have to remember that this scheme has been implemented in two phases. Phase 1 is from 2019 to 2015 to 2019, and phase 2 from 2019 to 2022. So it is 1st of April 2015 to 31st March 2019. This is your first phase. And second phase is 1st of April 2019 to 31st March 2022. Clear? So this is, again you have to remember. Clear? So this is what you have to remember with respect to this scheme. Now moving further. How many of you have heard about corporate social responsibility? CSR. Corporate social responsibility. How many of you have heard about corporate social responsibility, CSR? Okay, so what do you know about it? Okay, so अगर आप देखोगे corporate social responsibility, this concept was introduced in Companies Act 2013. Okay, in Companies Act 2013, which says that certain companies has to spend certain amount or certain percentage of their profit on social and environmental activities. Okay, on social and environmental activities. Clear? Clear? So ultimately this is introduced in which act? Companies Act 2013, where it is said that you have to spend some of your money, okay, some of your money, or you can say some of the percentage of profit on social and economic environmental activities, social and environmental activities. So next question that can be asked, is it spent by everyone? No. It is spent by only, you can say, certain companies, and those certain companies are those which are having a net worth of 500 crores or turnover of 1000 crore or net profit of 5 crores. So यहाँ पर तीन conditions है. तीन में से if any one of the condition is there, you have to implement the guidelines of CSR. Okay. So ultimately number one is your net worth. Is either rupees 500 crores. Okay. So अगर 500 करोड़, ओके, तो अपने पास होते 500 करोड़ तो कोई टेंशन ही नहीं थी। क्लियर? और एनुअल टर्नओवर, नॉट नेट, और एनुअल टर्नओवर of rupees 1000 crore, so automatically more is also there, so this is the minimum 500 or more, or net profit of rupees 5 crore or more. So these three are different terms: net worth, annual turnover और net profit. Clear? So अगर इनमें से कोई भी एक चीज है, any one, okay, if there is any one, okay, so you are or you have to spend money on CSR, okay, or you have to implement these guidelines. Number one. Number two, how much you have to spend? You have to spend at least 2% of the profit, okay, okay, at least 2% of the profit. Cayman Island बहुत ज्यादा आ रहा है so definitely लेके जाऊंगा आप लोग को भी, ठीक है? So ultimately at least 2% of the profit of your last 3 years, okay, average of last 3 years, okay, so at least 2% of profit, जो आप कैलकुलेट कैसे करोगे, of profit that is average of last 3 years. So whatever profit I have in last 3 years, I'll take a average of that, okay, and whatever value comes out, 2% of that, at least 2. So it is not only 2. अब यहां पर भी देखो ट्विस्ट कर सकती है यूपीएससी, तो कभी आप सोचो सिर्फ 2% है, नहीं, आपको बोलती है वो एटलीस्ट 2%. सो इट इज योर चॉइस, यू कैन स्पेंड 3% ऑल्सो, 4% ऑल्सो, दैट इज योर चॉइस, बट एटलीस्ट 2 यू हैव टू स्पेंड, okay, and 2% of what? That is average of last 3 year profit, okay, average of last 3 year profit. Clear? Now some students are saying break मिलेगा. देखो ब्रेक तो देंगे, थोड़ी देर में देंगे, वो थोड़ी देर कब देंगे आपको बता दूंगा मैं. क्लियर? तो लेकिन पढ़ते जाओ बस, कि थोड़ा सा टॉपिक है, देन विल स्टार्ट मोर इंटरेस्टिंग टॉपिक, ओके, करा के ही छोड़ूंगा. क्वेश्चन आपके कम से कम अगर 20 क्वेश्चन आ रहे हैं तो कम से कम 12-13 क्वेश्चन तो आपको आज के सेशन से दे के ही छोड़ूंगा मैं, टेंशन मत करो. क्लियर? अगर आप उसको आराम से सुन रहे हो तो इस चीज को टेंशन मत करो, ये टॉपिक जरूर करके जाना यार एग्जाम के लिए, दे आर वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. क्लियर? क्लियर? सो अल्टीमेटली ये आपका सीएसआर का है, ओके. अब लेकिन अगर आप देखोगे सीएसआर के लिए हमने एक कमेटी भी सेट करी थी. वी हैव सेट वन कमेटी फॉर सीएसआर आल्सो. कैन एनीवन टेल मी? ओके, कैन एनीवन टेल मी कि सीएसआर के लिए हमने एक कमेटी भी सेट करी थी. देखो यूपीएससी में एग्जाम पेपर डिकोड करना बहुत इजी है सारे सब्जेक्ट्स को, अगर आप उसको अंडरस्टैंडिंग से लिंक करके पढ़ोगे तो. ओके, नो समर, ओके, सो सी आई एम आस्किंग अ कमेटी नेम. यस, some are saying correct. The name of the committee is, full name is In Jeti Srinivas Committee. या तो देखो चीजों का रट्टा लगा लो, ओके, मतलब यू स्टार्ट मगिंग द थिंग्स, और इफ यू अंडरस्टूड द थिंग्स, okay, so there is no need of mug up, automatically things will be in your mind. Now what happened in this CSR? Now ultimately you know that company is you can say is continuously making profit, but sometimes what happened, government has given this obligation that you have to spend at least 2% as CSR. Now due to engage in their business activity, companies are sometimes, you can say, unable to spend. Now when they are unable to spend, so companies act make one provision that you will be criminalized. तो अगर सपोज कर लो माय कंपनी हैज टू स्पेंड सीएसआर, ओके, तो केमन आइलैंड पे मेरी कंपनी है, ठीक है, इंडिया में भी काम कर रही है, तो वहां पर मेरी कंपनी ने कमा लिए 10,000 करोड़, Okay, so now I have to spend, you can say CSR, but I am busy in Cayman Island. Okay, now Companies Act used to say that if you will not spend the money, okay, if you will not spend the money, you will be criminalized. So then I asked, why so? So government set up one committee in Jyoti Srinivas to look into this matter. So they said, remove this provision or decriminalize this provision. आप fine लगा दो लेकिन जेल थोड़ी भेजोगे यार. Okay, so that is why we set up one committee in Jyoti Srinivas committee. Okay, in Jyoti Srinivas committee. Okay, so which recommended to decriminalize. Okay, decriminalize this provision of CSR. Okay, so if CSR is not spent, if CSR is not spent, okay. So some are saying, sir, island का क्या चक्कर क्या है? I'll tell you when we'll do taxation part. Okay, clear. So if CSR is not spent earlier, you will be behind the bars. Okay. Now government said, or you can say this committee said, कि this provision should be removed. Okay. And finally, you can say, if I talk about in Jyoti Srinivas committee, government has recommended this committee recommendation, okay, and remove this clause. So right now, if you are not spending the money, okay, if you are not spending the money, you will not be criminalized. So this is what you have to remember. Clear? Okay. Clear? So this is what you have to remember. Okay. Now another link I can give you. You know, although we'll talk about Gift City also. So which is developed in Gandhinagar. And in Gift City, there is IFSC, International Financial Service Center. So right now, International Financial Service Center, okay, International Financial Service Center is headed by in Jyoti Srinivas. So अगर आप IFSC का जो चेयरमैन है, MD है, sorry, not chairman, MD है, वो आपका in Jyoti Srinivas जी है. Okay, so again a link I am giving to you. Okay, although no one is going to ask you, but you will now remember that the same person has, you can say, formed for CSR. Okay, and the same person is right now the chairperson of or MD of Gift City, that is IFSC. Clear? Okay, so this is the thing. Okay, so this is what you have to remember. Next, there is another concept nowadays in news, that is ESG. Okay, that is environment, social and governance compliance of a company. Okay, nowadays SEBI has given it mandatory, or you can say for those companies which are, you can say, in top 1000 listed entities of any stock exchange. So you know that in stock exchange companies are listed on the basis of market valuation or MCAP, market capitalization. So those 10,000 top 1000 not 10,000 top 1000 listed companies, okay, it is mandatory for them to follow ESG norms. Okay, now this is different from CSR. So there are chances that they can ask you. This is different from CSR. Okay, so don't think that it is KSG. It is ESG, environment, social and governance norms. So ultimately, you know that any business activity, okay, their main objective is to earn profit. Now when they are earning profit, so we want to know how much or what or how many, not much, how many initiatives has been taken with respect to environment. Means whatever business process they follow, is it environmentally friendly? Whatever business process they follow, is it helping socially also? Okay, and whatever business process they follow, are they implementing the governance reforms, or you can say governance, or whatever rules of governance or rules are there that is given by the government, they are implementing that. So every company has to make a report with respect to, for example, if you are running a business, there may be possibility that you are earning great profit, but while earning great profit, you are basically damaging the environment. So this is what your business is not ESG norms followed or compliance. So you have to tell in the report that my business is having this much environmental impact. Okay. Similarly, when you are running a business, so apart from government, you can say government rules, what additional you can say care you are giving for your employees. Okay, or you can say social security. क्या आप अपनी तरफ से कोई social security वो दे रहे हो? So that is what you have to understand. And third is with respect to governance. So whatever rules and regulation given by the government, are you implementing or not? So this is what ESG. Now you can say that report has to be submitted to SEBI. See, CSR में आप क्या कर रहे हो? अपने प्रॉफिट का कुछ परसेंट स्पेंड कर रहे हो. ओके. ESG में क्या कर रहे हो? जो भी आप बिजनेस कर रहे हो उसके अंदर you are taking care of environment, society and government rules and regulation. Clear? So ultimately CSR is once you earn the profit, so you are spending some portion. ESG, that to earn that profit, your process follow or respect environment, social or governance. So you have to understand this thing. So third party audit will be there, and accordingly if you are not doing this, your market capitalization or market value will fall. Clear? So ultimately we want companies must be, you can say, responsible in complete manner. Clear? मतलब business करते समय भी और business करने के बाद जो profit earn कर रहे हो, they have to spend that also. Clear? So this is what you have to understand. Okay. Environmental impact assessment is something else. Okay. Environmental impact assessment is before you start any activity, so you are doing impact assessment. But once you start activity and you start violating it, or your process, whatever you are given, that are harmful, so you are now assessing that. Clear? So this is the thing. So both are different. Clear? Okay. So this is what you have to understand. Okay. Now again, last year we have added, or you can say in 2018 we have introduced National Financial Reporting Authority. Okay. NFRA. So UPSC has not asked question on this. Still there are chances that they can ask a question on this. Okay. Now you know that every company has to maintain a balance sheet. Okay. Every company has to maintain what? Balance sheet. Okay. Now you know that every company has to maintain what? Balance sheet. Okay. So when you talk about balance sheet, okay, nowadays there are so many cases that companies used to manipulate their balance sheet in order to get loans, investment, etc. Okay. So for example, few days, or you can say last year, there was in the month of, you can say November, October, or October, November, there was a case of Go Mechanic. Okay. So their market valuation was X, so they increased it 10 times. Okay. In 6 months. Okay. So it raised a concern ki how it is possible. So ultimately this is done with the help of, you can say, professionals like CA. Okay. Now ultimately to ensure that companies follow a proper standard of accounting as well as auditing, okay, we framed one body, that is National Financial Reporting Authority. Okay. So we framed one body in, or you can say in 2018. Now this body again derives its power from Companies Act. Okay. So this body derives its power from Companies Act. Okay. Now, so if you want to know the exact, it is section 132, but no need to remember section. Okay. So these facts are not important. You know the working of this. Now you can say so many, you can say accounting scams are there. So in that context, we need this body, NFRA. Now this body is headed by chairperson, which is appointed by central government. Okay. And this body has another 15 members. So maximum limit is 15 members. So this body is, you can say, have chairperson plus 15 members which are appointed by central government. Okay, which are appointed by what? That is central government. So this is what you have to remember. Okay, so central government is there now. Okay, now if there is any, you can say fraud. Okay, so these companies, okay, these companies, or you can say these NFRA has a authority to inspect that. But there is a condition that they are going to check the accounting detail of those companies which has a minimum paid up capital of, you can say, 500 crore or annual turnover of more than 1000 crore. Okay, so ultimately they can initiate a probe or you can say investigation. Okay, for those listed and unlisted companies, for those, okay, for those listed and unlisted companies, okay, listed and unlisted companies which are, you can say, had a paid up capital of 500 crores minimum or turnover of more than 1000 crore. So this condition you have to remember. Okay, this condition you have to remember. Clear? So this is what you have to remember. Okay, although they can initiate an inquiry against CA also. Okay, so इनके पास पूरी power है. Okay, they have a complete power. So ultimately you can say they are the watchdog of balance sheets of the company. Okay, so ultimately if they find any mismanagement, okay, so some are right asking what is NFRA, National Financial Reporting Authority. So for you I repeat it twice or thrice. NFRA, National Financial Reporting Authority. So which was formed in 2018. Why? Because there were so many, you can say, scams related to accounting, okay, or you can say balance sheet. So that is why we need NFRA. So it came in Companies Act, section 132. Not important to remember because UPSC never asked these numbers. Okay, because it is very difficult to remember. But they ask the intention of these bodies. Okay. Now this is of chairperson. This comprises of chairperson plus 15 members. Okay, and it is appointed by central government. Okay. Now the main task of this body is that if they found anyone is not following the proper accounting methods, okay, so means either it is listed or unlisted company, but their minimum paid up capital is 500 crore or the turnover is 1000 crore. Okay, so they can initiate an inquiry against such companies. Clear? Clear? So I hope it is easy to remember. So I hope it is easy to remember by you. Okay, so any doubt? Okay, so any doubt in NFRA? Please tell me. Okay. Okay. Now we'll come to another topic, MSME. With that we'll end our industry. With that we'll end our industry. MSME. Now earlier we used to classify MSME on the basis of, see some are asking doubts. I'll give you doubt within half an hour. By 6:30 I'll give you doubt. Don't break, not doubt. So by 6:30 I'll give you break. Okay. Fizan, I'll give you break. No issue. But 6:30 sharp. Okay. 6:30 I'll give you a break of 15-20 minutes. Okay. So please coordinate. We have to cover a lot. Okay. MSME. Now we'll talk about MSME. First of all, you must know the definition of MSME. So we basically define, earlier we used to define on the basis of investment, but now we used to define MSME on the basis of, you can say, turnover. सो अल्टीमेटली यहां पर भी 3 नंबर याद रख लो आप, 5 करोड़, 50 करोड़ एंड 250 करोड़। मजा ही आ रहा है कि हम बड़े बड़े नंबर याद रख रहे हैं, 500 करोड़, 1000 करोड़, 5 करोड़। ओके, लाइक इन CSR also we talk about in crores, here also we talk about in crores, in NFRA we also talk about crores। तो मतलब इंडिया में पैसा बहुत है भाई। ओके, सो that is why these numbers are there। so ultimately MSA micro, ओके तो अल्टीमेटली यहां पर हम लाखों में बात करेंगे नहीं, अब सीधा हम करोड़ों में ही बात करेंगे। क्लियर? तो जब व्हेन विल टॉक अबाउट एनपीए आल्सो, नॉन परफॉर्मिंग एसेट, वहां पर भी हम करोड़ों में बात करेंगे, 6000 करोड़, 7000 करोड़। सो यू नो सम पीपल हैज लाइक यूके, इफ आई टॉक अबाउट यूके, ओके, सो यूके हैज टू इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग्स। एक तो हमारा वो कोहिनूर ले गए थे, ओके, दूसरा हमारे माल्या साहब भी उनके पास है। ओके, so ultimately if any company is having annual turnover of, you can say 5 crores, okay, that is regarded as micro, okay, micro, so you can say up to 5 crores. If 5 crore to 50 crore, that is called as small, okay, and if 50 crore to 250 crore, that is called as medium, okay, that is called as medium। clear? okay, clear? so this is the thing, okay, okay, clear? देखा जोश आ गया आप लोगों में भी, मैं देख रहा हूं आपके कमेंट्स कि मतलब आप भी 8-8 हजार करोड़ की बात कर रहे हो। क्लियर? क्लियर? तो आप ये देखोगे, this is the way we define our MSME, okay, that is on the basis of annual turnover। okay, now basically you have to first understand what is the difference between MSME। if you are earning more than that 250 crores, so automatically you become a part of heavy industries। okay, तो अगर 250 करोड़ से ऊपर का कमा रहे हो टर्नओवर, तो आप हेवी इंडस्ट्रीज हो। okay, अब now when we talk about this, okay, when we talk about MSME, so MSME has their certain challenges। सबसे पहला चैलेंज जो इनको है, that is with respect to credit, okay, that is with respect to credit। now if suppose there is any big company like Samsung, Apple, or you can say any automobile company, when they go to the bank used to give them loans easily, so you can say banks used to welcome them, but when it comes to MSME, banks does not give them loan easily। okay, so ultimately why? because most of the MSME are in unorganized sector, so they have challenge with respect to credit। so earlier UPSC has asked question, so chances of asking question are very less on this, first you have to remember। so ultimately if I talk about credit, government has framed some scheme also, like recently they have come out with credit guarantee scheme for MSME। okay, similarly we'll also talk about mudra, but not here, but in banking chapter। okay, mudra, okay, so mudra bank is also, mudra bank is also providing loan to micro units। okay, micro units are those units which turnover is less than 5 crores। okay, so this is what you have to remember। okay, okay, so this is what you have to remember। next, second thing that you have to remember is, what is another challenge with respect to these thing is market। now normally when any heavy industry is launching any product, okay, so you will see that before launch of the product, that product get booked। okay, so for example if Apple is coming with Apple iPhone, so you know that people will book in advance। okay, क्योंकि आजकल सोशल स्टेटस बन चुका है, बिकॉज अगर मेरे पास एप्पल आईफोन पहले ही आ गया लॉन्च होने से पहले या इमीडिएटली ऑन लॉन्च डेट, सो यू कैन शो दैट आई परचेज एप्पल ऑन डे वन इटसेल्फ। ओके, सो अल्टीमेटली अगर एमएसएमई कोई प्रोडक्ट लॉन्च कर रही है, तो आप उसको खरीदना तो बात दूर की बात है, आप देखोगे भी नहीं अभी जल्दी। ओके, सो अल्टीमेटली दे हैव अ चैलेंज विद रिस्पेक्ट टू मार्केट। अब इस मार्केट के लिए गवर्नमेंट हैज वर्किंग ओवर इट. So ultimately what government is doing, government is basically you can say, when we talk about one district one product, one district one product, so government is talking about that. Okay, one district one product, so government is talking about that. Clear? Clear? So one district one product is just like a branding. Now apart from this, there is another very famous scheme, one nation one standard. Now whenever you go and purchase MSME product, okay, so take any MSME product, okay, so you know that the same type, so for example toys, so there are so many toys industry also in MSME. Now the same toy you are getting at, for example, 100 rupees, the same toy you get at 500 also. So ultimately you get confused. What is the difference? What is the difference? Now reason is that there is no fixed standard. Even shopkeeper is more confused than you. So government says that if you want to create a market for MSME, there should be some minimum standard. That is why if you see from last so many years, they are asking questions on, you can say, so many, you can say, bodies which are responsible for standards. So you can say, for example, ISI, okay, ISI. So you know that ISI mark is there, okay. ISI mark is there. So this ISI mark is certified by BIS, Bureau of Indian Standard, okay, Bureau of Indian Standard, and this is given for industrial products in India, okay. So basically this recognizes a standard, and for इंडस्ट्रियल प्रोडक्ट. तो अगर आप पिछले साल के क्वेश्चन उठा के देखोगे, दे हैव आस्क्ड अ क्वेश्चन ऑन क्वालिटी काउंसिल ऑफ इंडिया. Okay, so that is why because this is the government's major agenda. Clear? So ISI talks about standard for industrial product. So this is what you have to remember. Number one. Number two, egg mark. So if you see egg mark used to standardize or give standards for agricultural products. Okay, egg mark used to give standard for agricultural product. Number three, if you see BIS hallmark, so you can say hallmark, you know that it is given for gold, okay, it is given for gold, or you can say precious metals like silver also, okay, gold and silver. So ultimately, if these standards are not there, everyone can, you can say, make you fool, okay. Next, similarly you will see that there is, you can say, in Indian organic product like Jaivik Bharat, so already we have covered that it is NPOP or PGS. So that is also a standard, because NPOP is a pure organic product. In PGS you will find some traces of chemical fertilizers, okay. So why? Because due to its procedure. Clear? So ultimately this is what you have to understand, okay, this is what you have to understand. Clear? So ultimately if you see Quality Council of India also, so Quality Council of India is a body which is regulating all the bodies which are responsible for giving, you can say, trademarks, or you can say defining the standards. So for example, similarly if you see, there is Food Safety and Standard Authority of India also, okay, which is basically give standards for processed food. And Quality Council of India, which UPSC has asked once, the role of Quality Council of India is to you can say the role of Quality Council of India is to, you can say, define the standards, or you can say overlook all these bodies. Okay, so basically they are managing or controlling all these bodies, or you can say whatever you can say bodies are there for specific purpose. They used to define further guidelines for these bodies. Similarly, if you see in the month of January, you can say there was an issue with respect to toys also. So you know that there are companies like Hamley, Archie's, so they are in news because of you can say quality of the toys. So ultimately you can again expect a question from this. So अगर आप पिछले साल के कई सारे questions देखोगे, you will get to know that every year they are asking question from any of these body. Okay. Similarly, there is another body, Bureau of Energy Efficiency, which is used to electric appliances on terms of energy consumed. For example, when you purchase air condition, so their star marking is there. When you purchase LED, you can say star marking is there. Okay, so if 5-star is there, so it means energy efficient product. So automatically they have asked question on BE also. So if you see, I think in 2017 you can check 17 or 18, most probably in 17, they have asked a question that energy efficiency, like they have given some items and they asked which of the following items have star rating given by BEE. So you have to identify it. So like they have given fan, LED, refrigerator. So this way you have to identify. Clear? So questions are simple, but here my agenda is that nowadays government is focusing on quality. So you must know about quality. So like they have asked about Quality Council of India also. So in Quality Council of India, the chairperson is appointed by Prime Minister of India. Okay, on the recommendation of you can say industrial bodies. Okay, like CEII, FICCI, etc. Okay, so this becomes important. That is why once they have given a question that Quality Council of India is headed by PM. No, it is not headed by PM, but its chairperson is appointed by PM. Or जहाँ पर Prime Minister of India is involved, so it means automatically that body is important. Okay, automatically that body is important. Clear? So ये आपको समझना पड़ेगा. क्लियर? ऐसे ही अगर आप देखोगे आजकल हम प्रोडक्ट्स को रेट करने लग गए इको ग्रीन मार्क से भी. सो आई होप यू हैव स्टडीड इन योर एनवायरमेंट eco green mark. Okay, so where you used to find that the company which is producing some product, it is eco green mark or not. अगर नहीं समझ आया तो आप इसको ऐसे भी समझ सकते हो. Right now you know that कि we talked about green hydrogen. Okay, we talked about brown hydrogen, blue hydrogen. So ultimately green hydrogen is that where we are using or we are making hydrogen using renewable energy. But here you are not using renewable energy, you are using your conventional source of energy only. Clear? So ultimately your process is not clean, although your outcome is clean. But in green hydrogen, your process and outcome both are clean. So this is what you have to understand. Okay. Okay. So this is what you have to understand. Clear? Clear? So you can expect a question from this also. Okay. Now, now this is the thing that you have to understand. Now if you see the previous year question, so again if you see there is one topic that is you must know that how you can say check the performance of the companies or manufacturing sector. So there are two tools, one is IIP, that is Index of Industrial Performance, and another is core industries. So you must know the core industries, that there are total 8 core industries. Okay, 8 core industries, and they become important for you in terms of their weightage also. Okay, so UPSC has asked so many times that question. So there are total 8 core industries. So if you see the number one is you can say refinery products. So that has been given maximum weightage. Okay. Refinery products. Number 2, electricity also. Okay, so electricity has been given the second weightage. Number 3, steel. थर्ड नंबर पे वी हैव गिवन अ वेटेज टू स्टील, फोर्थ coal, so remember this thing, coal, fifth crude oil, fifth crude oil, sixth natural gas, sixth natural gas, seventh cement, एंड एट्थ फर्टिलाइजर. रटा हुआ है आप लोगों ने, बहुत बढ़िया. ओके, बट इसमें से क्वेश्चन आता है. ओके, अगर रटा हुआ है तो बहुत बढ़िया है, नहीं रटा तो रट लो यार इसको. यू हैव टू मग अप बिकॉज इसके पीछे कोई लॉजिक नहीं है. ओके, सो गवर्नमेंट, or you can say government has defined or have their weightage in this way. Okay, so if you see that this is the favorite question of UPSC. Okay, this is the favorite question of UPSC. Okay, so you have no choice, you have to mug up these things. Okay, so this is about you can say your core industries that you have to mug up. Okay, that you have to mug up with this, that is core industries, and they are very important. Okay, now we'll shift to. Okay, तो आप लोगों ने अपने कोडिंग भी बना रखी है. ओके, दैट्स वेरी गुड. ओके, अगर आपने कोडिंग बना रखी है तो बहुत बढ़िया. ओके, क्लियर. ओके, सो अगर आप देखोगे इंडस्ट्रीज में यहीं से आते हैं, तो हमारे दो बड़े टॉपिक कवर हो चुके हैं, एग्रीकल्चर एंड इंडस्ट्री. ओके,